We need to bring a sandbag in here. That mic is just heavy for that thing. Chili's old mic worked great on there.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on, gentlemen? Welcome to the 307 podcast. Hey, how's your headphone volume, John?
It's good.
Not too loud?
No, it's good.
Okay, sweet. You know, we were talking about something earlier. We just got done with a little team PT this morning. Got us a good mountain bike ride in. Dude, I was impressed with your mountain biking skills, John.
Hey, thanks. Yeah. It was next level. We don't have that at home.
Well, are the trails in Arizona like really groomed or packed dirt or?
Just more loose gravel. That's what I'm used to. That roots and the wet, like the water, the mud, we don't have that.
Yeah. Well,
Not
Chad
where I'm
took you down the darn biggest washed out trail on the whole property up there. Your son got 70-something miles in the other day, right?
That's right, 73. Just turned 13.
That's intense, dude.
Yeah,
what kind of bike was he riding?
Gravel bike. He rides a pivot gravel bike.
Okay. So that's like a road bike with treaded tires, right?
Exactly. Just a little bit beefier. There's just a little more clearance between the tire and the frame. So it's kind of right in the middle between a mountain bike and a road tire.
Yeah. Boy, I bet you're proud of him. That's a haul on a bike, man. I haven't
Yes,
covered
sir.
70-something miles on a bike yet.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Was
Pretty
he
awesome.
stove up? Well, I guess you haven't seen him since.
I haven't. He's pretty quiet. He could tell he was pretty proud of himself, but he was keeping it to himself. His mom, on the other hand, she was fired up.
Is he still aspiring to go the SEAL route or the military route? How's he doing with that?
I think he kind of goes back and forth.
I mean, it's
I think-
early.
Yeah, he's young. I mean, I would like to see him do that, but my daughter's actually starting at Embry-Riddle this year, which is an aeronautical school, which is the coolest school I've ever seen. I didn't even know colleges like this exist, so seeing that with her, I think it would be an awesome fit for him too. So we'll see where he goes with it.
How old is she?
She turned 18. She'll be 18 in August.
Dang it, man.
Yeah.
You got the whole spectrum covered as far as ages go.
Yeah, we're getting there. Down to one.
Oh, well, while we were out doing Team PT, John was asking me, obviously, we're talking about, first of all, John's a cool cat. He really, and I know you would, but you fit right in with our lifestyle, our perspective, I think, our beliefs, and so we can have deeper than surface level conversations with John. So we're talking about the things that are kind of going on in society right now, because I think that we should talk about those things and we should be aware of what's going on in our nation and in the world. There's nothing wrong with that. By no means were we being negative about it. It's just part of the conversation that we were having on a PT. And John, you asked me, I said, the Bible talks about when we see these things happening, I said, it said, rejoice because your redemption draws near. And you said, well, where is that actually in Scripture? So I looked that up. I want to share it with you guys that are listening to the podcast too, because I think this is a good thing for us to all bring to mind as we go through the day-to-day and see the things that are going on. This is an interesting portion of Scripture right here in Luke chapter 21, starting in verse 25. This is Jesus speaking, and he says, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity. That's interesting to me. Distress of nations with perplexity, complicated issues causing distress on the nations of the earth. Then he goes on to say, the sea and the waves roaring. Well, we see that quite often. Men's hearts failing them for fear. Boy, have we... What? Does that sound right? Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when you see these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Could you say we were beginning to see these things happening? This is just a wonderful description of of what we see.
Yeah.
Distress of nations with perplexity. Men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are to come on earth. You know, there's a lot of things going on that I think really fit within the construct of that portion of Scripture as Jesus talks to us about the closing of this age. And so I was wrong, John. I just wanted to point this out. It does not say directly to rejoice. Maybe I misinterpreted this, but in verse 28, he says, when these things begin to come to pass, then look up. Lift up your heads, which in my mind could symbolize rejoicing. Lift up your heads, look up, for your redemption draws nigh. Man, come on, son. A little different perspective, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Big John?
Well, it's just like I said on the trail. I mean, as a Christian, I've never been so confident with what's going on. It's very easy to be bold in my stance, because if you can't step back and not make sense of some of this stuff, I mean, clearly there's spiritual warfare going on. And as a Christian, as a believer in Christ, to me, it's almost exciting that I can stand firm in my faith in this, and it almost gives me a better opportunity to be able to share my testimony and be bold. Yeah,
I agree 100%. And that's when you said that out on the trail, that's directly crossed my mind. It's like, yeah, John, you're exactly right. It is becoming more and more easy to make a case for Christ as the everything kind of degrades.
Yeah.
And it's making, I think that people are much more hungry for Christ and for answers than they were back in, the 90s? You remember the 90s, man? It's like nothing, like everything was good, man. Everybody the economy was good. I mean, the worst thing that I can remember happening in the 90s was Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky deal, you know what I mean? And that was like an uproar.
Yep.
Oh, man, if that happened right now, it wouldn't even be on the news because nobody would care.
Yep. It would depend on who that happens to.
That's true, man. That's true. But, man, what wonderful times that we are living in. When you look at it from that perspective, and I haven't read that portion of Scripture in quite a while, so I'm glad it came to mind this morning, and I'm glad you challenged me to look it up and kind of read more into the context of it. So, what do you think, Blake?
Well, I think that it makes it easier for us to make a case, because when everything's good in the world, it's easy to have confidence in who you are, or confidence in the government, or confidence in this and that. But when it's all coming off the rails and you can't have confidence in anything, you can look and say, well, the only thing that's ever held true through all time is the Bible. And that's a really good point John made, that it's easy to make a case for it because it's always something you can fall back on that's always true and always right.
Yeah, and I think there's more evidence. There's more evidence that you can present. And specifically, John pointed out the evidence of spiritual warfare, whatever you want to call it, the battle within the spiritual realm, and we being a part of that as humans. I think it's it is raging now. And us, because of our awareness of it and the way it works and the constructs of it, we do have much more, we do have many more, I think, tangible examples of it, built into our day-to-day testimony these days. So, I don't know, man. Solid stuff. Well, I've got some good news for y'all. I want to ask John here in just a minute, how was your experience in the airport?
Oh, boy. I prayed a lot about it because it tends to drive me a little bit crazy. I can't get on board. It doesn't make sense. The logic's not there. And, I actually handled it pretty well, but I just can't stand the hypocrisy in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Blake forced us to fly last weekend, and we made it all the way through the airport unmasked.
Well, let me first say, we walk in unmasked.
You are brave.
We walked in unmasked, and this guy says, "Whoa, sir, you guys have to put your masks on." And I said, "Well, all right, I've got my fake mask, so I'll put it on." Chad said, "Well, I don't have one." So he hands Chad a mask wrapped up in this plastic packaging. And Chad says, "Thank you, sir." And he stands there in front of the guy and unpacks it and holds the mask in his hand and hands the trash back to the man. And just, "Here you go, buddy. I really appreciate that." And walks on and never puts his mask on, just holds it. So
awesome.
You can continue on with your story.
So we went right on through the whole airport, and it was really funny, man, because there were I was watching people. I wanted to see how they would react to us because obviously we were the oddballs. The airport was packed.
Yeah,
it was more. The Atlanta airport was more crowded than I had ever seen it in my life.
Me too. I thought the same thing.
It was insane, dude. Mm-hmm. And so we're walking through here, packed in here, getting herded around like sheep, and people are like looking at us, and they look at us, and some of them, mainly males, when they saw we had our mask on, they'd pull their mask off.
Yep, it's empowering, right?
And they were like, and I wanted to tell, and I was thinking some of these people, I mean, I wanted to like walk up to them and be like, "Hey, man, I'm not exempt from wearing, like, I don't have some medical, I'm doing this as a choice. So you can take your mask off too and be just like me," right? And we're in the same boat. So that was really cool because, like you said, it is a little contagious or empowering to others. We make it all the way through the airport, all the way up to the gate, the gateway, where you scan your boarding pass to board the plane. And here's this lady, Delta employee, and Blake quickly scans his boarding pass and heads for the gate. And I'm right behind him. And she covers the scanner with her hand. And she's like, "You cannot scan your ticket," talking to me, "until you put a mask on." And she proceeded to tell me that coronavirus was a real thing. I'm glad she told me that because I had forgotten. It's been about 6 months since I had coronavirus, and it knocked my butt in the dirt. So I had forgotten it was a real thing. I was thinking it was fake again. And so she told me that it was a real thing and that she had her mask on so that she could keep me safe and that I needed to do the same thing. So I went ahead and that I was not getting on that plane until I put my mask on.
Yeah.
So that was where we had to put it on at for the duration of the flight.
So did you not have yours on?
No, not when I scanned.
But she let you go?
Yeah.
But he slipped by her.
Listen, when you walk through the airport at 5 o'clock in the morning with your sunglasses on and you've got this big burly beard and you half bald and your hair sticking up everywhere and you look like you've just went AWOL. Ain't no either folks is going to say something to you or they ain't going to say nothing to you. You're going to get full force one or the other. And so that's the way Chad walked through the airport.
That's pretty impressive. You made it all the way on the plane without a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was drawing all of her attention. Like Blake said, I did wear my big blue sunglasses the whole way through. I mean, I just wanted to look as weird as I possibly could. Just to, like Blake said, either draw attention to myself or like make people say, I don't really want to pick a fight with this dude. You know what I mean? And I guess it works both ways. But yeah, man, that was our experience at the airport. So I want to encourage you guys that are listening. If you're going to fly, you can make it through the Atlanta airport. And also what was that airport we flew into? Westchester?
Yeah, White Plains.
White Plains in New York. You can make it through that airport too without your mask on until you get to the gate. And then if you want to get on the plane, unless you slip through like Blake. By the way, I mean, if you guys want me to travel with you so I can draw all the attention to me and you can slip through the gate without your mask on, I'll do that for enough money.
Well, or you could just act like you're eating the whole time.
I was going to say, what if you're just eating pecans the whole time? You're good to go, right?
That's what our buddy Connor said. He said, yeah, man, I did the same thing. He said, I made it all the way through the airport. He said, I put my mask on to scan my ticket. And then from that point forward, I took it off and ate for the entire 3-hour flight.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, man. Well, just had to share that with you guys. So I'm glad you made it through too, John. It can be a stressful environment. And hey, guys, we're just talking about this because it's funny as crap. We're not trying to upset anybody. It's absolutely so ridiculous that it is hilarious.
It is hilarious.
Yep.
You know? But
unfortunately, it's just the airport.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we didn't have Chili with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not quite as seasoned as we are, you know. He's not quite as seasoned at playing the game in life, which you have to play sometimes.
Yeah.
You know. So, good PT this morning. Good job, Blake, getting fall behind.
Yeah, good job. I'm glad you showed up a little late, but you know you'll learn to follow directions and make it on time one of these days.
Well, how'd you like them bibs?
That was pretty nice. Yeah, pretty comfortable.
Make a big difference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked them.
Do you think that mountain biking fits with your Ironman training at all? Or is road biking totally different?
It's just I enjoy it, but with my job, the hours I work, it's an all day thing. I just don't have time. I don't have time for all of it. So I just can't get the miles in. And that's what it is. It's just time on the seat. So regardless, it's just like time on your feet, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're putting time on the seat, it's the same thing, I believe. But, you know, I'm kind of winging this whole thing anyways, so we'll see.
So what do you do? What do you do for a living, John?
I'm a journeyman lineman, so I build and maintain power lines.
How'd you get into that, brother?
You know, this was one of these choices, or I guess one of these things that was so clear God was speaking to me, and that's how I got into this trade. So I built homes with my dad for 10 years. My family's been in custom homes forever, and I was doing that with him. And 07, 08, that the whole everything come crashing down, and
that was bad times.
Yeah, I saw the writing on the wall, and it was tough for my dad's company because I know he felt obligated to keep me going. I had a baby at the time, and you know, young married couple, and I know he owned a lot of that, and I kind of kept just keeping the business going, keeping the paychecks flowing. You know, that was tough, and I had like 3 or 4 different people come and tell me, hey, you know, you should really be a lineman. I didn't even know what a lineman was. I thought that it was just like changing out light bulbs for real.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well.
Why do you think they were telling you that?
Well, it was a God thing. I mean, God put this in my life, and I prayed about it, and it was a hard decision, you know, because my dad's always been, you know, I've always looked up to my dad. He's, you know, my best friend. He's He was everything. So for me to leave his company, which I did a lot for his company too, so I knew it would hurt him. But at the same time, I was hoping it would free him from, the feeling the pressure of keeping me going.
Yeah,
you know?
What kind of work was that?
Just building custom homes.
Okay, building homes. Yeah.
But at that time, custom homes was not what people were spending money on.
Okay.
So it was a struggle for a while.
But were you actually laboring for him out there? Or?
Yeah. So I did. I mean, I pretty much would do all like foundation and then all the outside stuff. I mean, we did a lot of like real big backyards, like $1 million yards, like big type stuff, custom stuff. And I mean,
yeah,
jack of all trades, master of none. That was my thing.
Yeah.
So you pretty much do it all.
So at what point did you that had to have been a hard conversation. Well, maybe it wasn't, but like say, okay, this is it.
So it pretty much went like this. I had felt God leading this to me, right? So I prayed a lot about it. I didn't want to leave my dad. I didn't want to become a lineman, but I knew it was probably a good decision. But I prayed about it. So I ended up applying for the apprenticeship. And you probably don't remember, but I said when I applied for the basic course, I knew that writing that application, I was coming because God told me you're going. As soon as I heard about it, I knew I was going, and it wasn't a question. And I felt the same way when I filled out the application for this apprenticeship. I knew it was going to happen. And at the time, the economy was so bad, they only hired 3 people that year for the apprenticeship, and I was one of them. So I prayed about it. God opened the door, and I just listened, and I went. And it was hard, but I think it worked out the way it should have. And Lineworks changed my life. I mean, it's changed me financially. We had great benefits. It helped me grow a lot as a man. It's been tremendous. So it was a total God thing, and thankfully I listened and just followed him.
I'll tell you what, man. Linemen, you guys got a brotherhood going on, really. I mean, at least from the outside perspective, we've got some linemen in our family. It seems like an awesome group of human beings doing some really hard things, man.
Yeah.
And some really hard environments, dangerous work.
Is that culture that way out there? It may just be
here. Yeah, but like here, man, like guys have the lineman stickers. People take pride in it, man.
They all dress the same.
It's almost like over the top, right? Like linemen think we're the coolest people in the world, which most people are like, "Oh, you're a lineman? Oh, which team do you play for?" No, man, I build power lines.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what we do. Like nobody really understands the depth of what we do. Like it always amazes me. We'll be changing out a pole or something, which is just an everyday thing for us. But the danger involved, what we're actually working with energized, 12,000 volts or 7,200 or whatever we're working on. Also not keeping your power on while we're doing it. People just don't have a clue. They don't. We make good money, but in my opinion, we don't make enough.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree, man. Let's see. Do you have any like from the line crew? Do you have any times that stand out just as far as like harsh, hard, difficult, dangerous? Any stories that stand out, man?
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to hear one of those just to kind of get a grasp on really the depth of what you guys do and what you guys go through.
Well, yeah. I mean, I tell the younger guys, I mean, I'll tell you a story that I was in a fire. And the fact of the matter is, if you're in this trade long enough, you're going to see some stuff go down. And it's the nature of the trade. You have human error, you have equipment error. Most of the stuff we do, it's all old stuff. So, things fail, things happen. I've been in a primary fire right over my head with melting, metal melted into my body and stuff, and it
Hold
really
on, explain that to us real quick.
It's okay.
What happens
He just
there?
passed over that, didn't he?
Well, no, I mean it's a good lesson, and it's a good lesson I tell all the younger guys because it's a real thing that happened. And part of the thing with like what we do is you want to see it for yourself. Like we have things in place that protect us, right? Like our trade is written in blood. Things have happened that you've learned from, and you don't cut corners, right? So like one of the lessons that you're told when you're getting brought up is that you don't trust anybody. You see it for yourself. You know what you're working on. It's kind of hard to explain with not really knowing electricity, but there's just things you see for yourself. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was working in California, and we had in California, everybody's trying to make a name for themselves. So there's always a big push on work. And nobody really cares about the hands doing the work. It's always just a push to get work done. We're always under the thumb. So I think we had like a scheduled 15-hour outage or something. And the way they did this type of stuff is they just like take out a whole block of people out of power. And you'd have like 7 or 8 crews with cranes and changing everything out, just updating like a whole neighborhood. Well, as a crew, you would get like 2 or 3 poles a night. And then that's what we did. We got ours done. We were cleaning up, and a crew came up to me and was like, hey, we just lost a guy. We need you to go make these jumpers. Basically, you're going to take 2 wires and put them together. Okay. And,
like splice them together?
Kind of. It's just like over the arm jumpers. So
okay, it's
making one jumper, making a connection with 2 separate wires, pretty much.
Okay.
And, normally when you would do this, you would never do this under load. You would never want to do what I did. And I got put into a bad situation, and I took someone's word for it. And what I thought I was doing wasn't what I was doing at all. But they failed to tell me that, and I failed to ask or look. So it's just as much my fault. Well, what happened is basically, to try to make it to where you can understand it, is I had a piece of wire that was 7,200 volts, and I hooked it up to another piece of wire that they had messed up the framing, and it went to a dead ground. So that 7,200 volts went straight to ground, right in my face. So I'm working out of a bucket, so it's a little bit over my head like this. Mm-hmm. But as soon as it came close, the world just came coming down. Just like massive fire. And I ducked, I hit the bucket, and I'm curled up in a ball just waiting for it to go. And those big circuits, they can see so much load without something happening. They just think it's more load. So eventually that circuit kicked, means it turned off, mm-hmm. and that fire stopped. But I came out of that bucket, and I thought for sure my face was like gone.
Yeah.
And thank God nothing happened. It was... I got some shrapnel in me, and some of my stuff caught on fire, but I came out of it clean.
When you made that connection and you said that power went straight to ground, mm-hmm. did it like blow up?
Oh yeah, like my buddy said, it was the worst fire he's ever seen.
But it was instant, like boom.
Yep. It's just. Have you seen an electrical fire?
I mean, here and there, maybe on a YouTube video or something like that, but
they're nasty.
They're
nasty, and that's the thing about our job. I mean, and the thing is too with our job, a lot of people don't realize is it's not just electricity. We work at heights.
Yeah,
I do a lot of helicopter work. We sag wire at 12 to 15,000 pounds. I mean, think about that: 15,000 pounds of tension weight. Like if you mess that up, you're gonna kill somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there's just a lot to it. I mean, there's tons of stuff. I've seen it. I've seen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
why do you think Jesus wanted you in this position, in this career field, in this trade? Because it sounds like you truly have faith that this is where you were supposed to go
Yeah.
and what you're supposed to be doing with your life?
It's a great question, and this is something I've been wrestling around with. And I actually go to something that you talk about getting here in this position. And I really believe, example. So one of my best friends, I've known him since he's been in day one in the trade. So like I've known him for 12 years. When I came home from the proving ground, I had an awesome moment with him. We had an awesome talk. He accepted Christ for the first time. And he told me after the fact, he says, you know what? You realize you've been talking to me about the same thing for 12 years? And that's it. And I think linemen, traveling trades in general are a rough group.
Yeah.
You got a lot of alcoholism, drugs, infidelity, all these things, right? And I truly believe that I'm seeing, not just with me, a few guys, a few close friends of mine, and that ripple effect we were talking about, it works. Mm-hmm. And it's a slow process, but I really believe that we are actually, serving God's kingdom through this trade.
Yeah.
And it's a rough trade. And, I've never been a preacher. And I've always just looked at life that, look, you're not a preacher, you're not a preacher, but you could choose the way you carry yourself.
Yeah.
And to know that actually works. Like when he said, you've been telling me the same thing for 12 years, and you realize like, wow, this is working, And
I want to talk about that, John, because this is, I think, a really valuable topic, because we've got a lot of men and women that listen to this podcast that are in trades, that are working, whether it's in law enforcement, fire. We've got tons of linemen that listen to this. So people that are in those same, dude, a line crew is essentially a SEAL platoon, but they're not going to war. They're deploying to work on power lines. So you guys are facing the same. Guys and girls are facing the same temptations that we face out on the road, right?
Yep.
And even deeper than that, we talk about body, soul, and spirit. So we're talking about more soul and spirit issues, but even body, man, it's so hard to keep your body healthy when you're traveling, when you're doing that type of job. It's super. So look, man, you talk about this being the harvest essentially being ripe within these subcultures almost, whether it's linemen, a SEAL platoon, a police department, a fire department, and your buddy says, you've been telling me this for 12 years. You now feel called and have felt called to be a light in this dark place. What does that look like from day to day? Like you say, you're not a preacher. How are people seeing Christ in you, or how are you approaching them and telling them about Jesus? How does that work, man? You know what I mean? And this is for people that are in this position, man, that they need to understand that if the harvest is ripe, how would you say to go about being that light in a dark place? You personally?
Yeah, I think this is where, since I became part of the body of 3 of 7, where you guys have really helped me understand this, because I can look back. My wife's name's July, and I can look back at our marriage, and I could say like, babe, how do you have such like a communication with Christ? Like how are you feeling so connected? Like I don't get that. I don't feel that. And what I realize is I just try to do it all on my own, and this is what I'm trying to tell like some of these newer guys that I'm trying to help them along, is it's all about the small choices that we make, right? And when you become obedient with the little things, like cussing, right? I used to cuss like a sailor, and for what? Yeah. And that's why I have this rubber band on my wrist. Yeah, it might be corny, but guess what? I don't cuss that much anymore, and very rarely does it slip up.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of discipline, and if I can control my mouth with this simple thing as cussing around a rough group of dudes, well, then God's like, all right, let's move on, right? And I think that's what it is, and that's kind of how I approach it. It's just setting that standard and then upholding it, right? And I just really believe in the effect of the ripple effect. Like, people are watching what you're doing. You know, if they see your struggles, even in your struggles and how you handle it, people are watching. And I just, like my buddy said, I mean, clearly it's having more of an impact than you realize of just holding a standard and living it out. Yeah. And that's all I try to do. And I'm not perfect. I screw up like everybody. I mean, I'll admit it. I'm not too proud to admit it.
Yeah.
But
well, if you didn't screw up every now and then in front of those people that are watching what you're doing, I think they would be less likely to approach you.
Sure.
When the time was right anyways.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it for sure, whether you want to or not. What did that conversation look like with your close friend when he did accept Jesus? Did he approach you? Did you approach him? I mean, how did that go?
I just I came back and I was fired up after the proving ground. The proving ground to me was so impactful, and man, I just laid into everybody that I loved. I just gave him an earful, and he just was ready to receive it. It was great. It was beautiful, you know. And
what were you sharing with them? You talk about giving them an earful. What were you sharing with them?
Just that, you know, like just what I've learned about small choices, the impact they make, just living your life to a standard. And that's the thing about this guy. He's an amazing man. He'll do anything for anybody. He's living biblical values. He just doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, I don't really know what happened. I think God was just tugging his heart at the right time, and he was just ready. Well, like I said, this was 12-year conversation, you know?
Man, praise the Lord, brother. Blake, you got anything?
No,
Yeah.
not at this point.
Okay. Well, yeah, man, I think that's it's important to understand that wherever you are, whatever your trade is, whatever the environment that you're in, you have a purpose in life. John is explaining to you what that purpose looks like, right? Your purpose is to be a light and to show others an example of what a child of God looks like. And that isn't necessarily beating them over the head with scripture, but like John said, they're watching what you're doing. And I think this is a hard concept for a lot of Christians to grasp, because how many Christians I've run into dozens, if not hundreds, of Christians that just say, I'm praying, I'm asking Jesus in prayer to show me my purpose. And I'm like, he wrote you a book.
Yeah.
Yep.
That tells you what your purpose in life is.
And I was there. I mean, I was there. Like, show me a sign. Give me this. Show me. Until you start obeying, that's when the growth happens. You got to be able to do the work and be obedient, you know, and that's really what I was lacking.
Dang, that's solid word right there, brother.
Well, thank you all, because you pushed me this way. But going back to before we get off of that though, you know, that preaching Christianity to me pushed me away from Christianity at a young age.
Yeah.
And I became, like I was telling Paul this, I think I must have prayed the prayer when I was a kid 50 times, because I always felt like I said it wrong, right? But I remember I went to a church camp. I was 13. And for the first time in my life, I felt the presence of Holy Spirit. And I'll never forget it. Mm-hmm. And that was life-changing. And I came back. I got baptized. Everything was great. Well, I got involved with this church. Great church, you know, it was just, kids being kids probably. But I distinctly remember feeling like, hey, you gotta look like this. You gotta act like this. You gotta believe in this. And just myself by nature, when you tell me I gotta do something, I'm gonna do the other way because I don't like that. And I learned that at a young age that I will never approach Jesus like that. And I think that's kind of where I got, like, you can say and do whatever you want. I'm just going to live it out. And that's what I've tried to do.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my next question. It's like, I want to hear your testimony, man, because it's interesting to me that you are so passionate about Christ in a real sense. I mean, I can tell it's genuine in your heart, and you don't just get there willy-nilly usually. So, I wanted to hear your testimony, and that sounds like there's the beginning of it. And just walk me through your journey as a son of Jesus Christ, and kind of how you've been led up to this point that you are now in your relationship with Jesus, man.
Okay, but saddle up. It's a long story.
Hey, man, we can split this into 2 episodes if we need to.
Yep. Yeah, so that's where I was growing up, and I was raised in a very God-centered home. My mother, she's just an amazing Christian woman, super faithful. She always has been. My dad's side of the family, Catholic, but my dad has gone beyond Catholicism. He's all about his personal relationship with Christ. So it's always been part of our family. I have 2 sisters, same thing. But so I was in high school and kind of just going through the motions, not really on fire for Christ, but just high school. Didn't really think much, but being 17 or whatever. And I had a mole on my arm, and it was just I was kind of an insecure kid, so it just bothered me. And I had it removed. Went to the doctor, no big deal. Well, about 3 months later, that same mole came back. Went back to the doctor again. I think I was a senior in high school. They removed it again, and don't hear anything from the doctor, don't think anything of it. So time goes on, I graduate high school, I moved to San Diego State. Once I got to San Diego State, I really kind of, as far as grades go, school came easy to me, but I was just making bad choices and just really living for myself.
Yeah.
And I went to San Diego State for a year, just partying, not living right. And I ended up coming back to ASU, and that mole had come back. And now at this time, there was it looked like someone took a cigar and just put it out on my arm. So it was pretty nasty scar with this, big mole on it. Go back to ASU. I ended up joining a fraternity. I think I'm the only person that I know of that actually was part of a fraternity at Arizona State, but didn't ever go to school. So that's just a notch. That's just a notch on my belt.
What were you going to school for, by the way?
Honestly, I didn't really know. Actually, I do. I mean, I wanted to be an elementary school teacher.
Okay.
That was the only thing I ever really wanted to do. But
I love to teach, man.
Yeah,
especially kids, right?
Well, I may be a teacher one day. When I get too old and decrepit to run and stuff, I may go get my teaching degree and teach.
Yeah.
I that resonates with me. But I like that.
So that's what I was doing, and at that time, I was on a bad path. I mean, I was going downhill quick, and I think I was 19, just making horrible choices, going nowhere good, and I don't even think my parents really realized the depth of what that was. But so I came back. My mom says, "Look, your arm's gross. We need to go to a plastic surgeon. Let's get it cleaned up. I said, all right. So I go to this plastic surgeon. He removes the mole, removes the scar, stitches it up. No big thing, right? I go back a week later or whatever it was, and he sits me down. It was my 20th birthday. He sits me down. He says, look, I don't know how to tell you this, but you've got melanoma, and you've had it a long time. So this could be nothing, or this could kill you. He says, so what I want you to do, he says, where do your parents live? I told him, he says, I want you to drive to their house. I'm going to call you guys in an hour. Okay. So I go over there. He calls. He explains that I've got melanoma. I've had it a long time. We don't know how far it's gone, but it's a problem. So it says, what we got to do. And he tells us right then again there, like, you're way too young for this. Somebody messed up. Like, you should not be going through this right now.
Yeah.
And he says, if I need to go to court, I will. So we realized that someone dropped the ball. Well,
On those first 2 times that was removed, that should have been checked.
Right. So looking back, those initial biopsies, the lab the lab people said, look, it could be Spitz nevus, which is nothing, or it could be melanoma. But the fact of the matter is, you didn't do a very good job getting clear margins, so do it again. And both times it says that. And we were never told anything. We were just told we're good to go.
Yeah.
And you don't think about that.
Especially at that age,
Yeah,
man.
like who's thinking about that?
Well, and you probably don't want to push the issue if they're telling you almost no news is good news, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, so we didn't think anything of it. So what they said is, look, we got to see how far this thing is. So they go in, they do a wide excision. So that's what that big scar is.
Yeah.
So they took all this out, and then they cut my nerve right here. They went in through my armpit, and they took 3 lymph nodes. And then they said, okay, well, we feel good about your arm. We think we cleaned it out, but now things just kicked up a notch because it's in your lymph nodes. So now, in 2000, you're pretty much dead. They didn't have anything for melanoma, and now it's in my blood, stage 4. You know, that's basically how it's presented to us.
It's 20 years old.
20 years old. So we say, okay, so what's next? So they go, all right, we're going to go back in. We're going to take 10 more lymph nodes and see if it's skipped lymph nodes, if it's traveled further or where it's at. So I go back in for surgery again. They take out 10 more lymph nodes, and that was it. They were all clean. So, okay. So now I got to get with an oncologist and see what do we do from here, right? So I get with this oncologist. This man was in Time magazine for one of the top oncologists in the world.
How'd you get hooked up with this guy?
I have no idea. I'm not sure.
Huh.
I was 20. I didn't really, I wasn't involved in that stuff.
Yeah.
But so he says, this is bad. This is a bad situation. So he said, we got a couple options. He said, really, the only thing we have right now is a drug called interferon. And he said, interferon, it's a nasty drug. He said, basically what you can expect from this drug is think about the worst flu you've ever had and inject that into you nightly. That's what you're going to feel. He said, the second thing that's bad about this is suicide. It causes people to kill themselves, and it's a real problem. So if you're going to take this drug, you automatically have to be on an antidepressant. And I go, oh, that's awesome options. What's plan B? He says, all right, so we're going to send you down to U of A Cancer Medical Center. And, they're cutting edge technology, research, this, that, and the other. And we'll see what they tell you. I say, all right. So my mom, my dad, and I go down to U of A. And this was probably one of the worst days of my life. So we sat down with them. They proceed to tell us that I basically could try trial drug A. You could expect boils, severe rashes, this, that, and the other, and it'll give you a 40% chance of living. And if you don't want to do that one, you can try drug B, and you're going to cut, just a rap sheet of side effects. So they gave me like 3 options, all experimental. And at the end, they say, and just so we're clear, you may or may not be getting these drugs. These might just be placebos because you're basically just a test rat.
Holy smokes.
Dang.
And I have never, ever, I don't think in my whole life I have felt this defeated as I did from there. And I just remember driving back to Phoenix from that U of A Cancer Center, and we were just silent. My parents and I think, really finally understood the magnitude of the situation. So we came back, get with my oncologist, and say, well, we're not doing that. So I guess we'll do the interferon.
So where's the cancer at in your body at this point? Because you said they took the 10 lymph nodes out.
So it started, that mole was right here on my arm.
Yeah.
And melanoma is the slowest moving cancer there is. At least that's what they told me.
Okay.
So the fact that it started here, it should have been just like, so many people get melanomas removed, it's no issue, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it should have been. But because of the fact it got missed, it had been traveling for 3 years, and it came all the way and got into my lymph system. So once it gets into your blood, now you got a problem.
Okay.
Now it's stage 4. But with that being said, I also believe that this was a huge part of my success, was that I believed back then that God used cancer to pull me out of a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe that had I not got cancer, who knows? I mean, I was headed on that trajectory.
So you go back to this doc and the original oncologist that you saw that offered you this medication, and at least you know this one he's offering you couldn't potentially be a placebo,
Right?
And you're just dying while you're taking it,
Right.
And you're not actually even taking a real medication. Obviously, that's the route I would have gone too.
Right.
Were you feeling any side effects from this cancer? Like
The cancer, no. I had no clue.
so you would have not even you didn't even know you had it
No clue.
if they wouldn't have told you, right?
Correct. I had no clue.
So that makes it even harder to then go and take this medication that's going to make you feel
well, and that's the whole deal. That it's all presented off fear, right? It's all fear pushed, and it's all numbers. Like, we feel good about the surgery, but if you take this, you've got a 60% chance of surviving, and if you don't take this, then you only have a 30% chance. So they run these numbers, and it's just kind of like, what the heck are you supposed to do? I mean, at least for me, I did whatever I had to do because you're trying to live, right? So, I mean, I didn't really feel like there was a choice there. There wasn't much to talk about. I just knew I wasn't going to be a lab rat. And that's the way they made me feel.
So what'd you decide?
So we started the interferon, and how it worked was I would go into a room about twice this size, and there would be people all getting chemotherapy injections. Granted, I was the youngest one by far, but I would go 5 days a week, and they would put an IV in, and it would take about 3 hours if I remember right. And they'd inject that in, and I would go home. And then when I went home, it was like massive migraines, 105 temperature. I hit that numerous times. On average, it was about 103, 104 temperature, body aches, throwing up, diarrhea, you name it. Like I say, the worst flu you've ever had, do that every day.
Every day.
So I did that. I did that for, I believe it was 6 weeks. And on top of it, like I said, you had to be on an antidepressant to do it. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was a nurse at one point where they were doing these injections, and she says, "How are you doing with the interferon?" I'm like, "It's what it is. I mean, it's not good." And she said, "My boyfriend was on that," and I go, "Really?" And this was the only person I knew that had been on it, because this is not a normal drug.
Yeah.
And I go, "Well, how's he doing?" And she goes, "He just killed himself. Here, I'm on the drug."
What the crap, nurse? What the crap, man?
I think she was, I don't remember having any bad, I don't get a bad thing from it, but
okay.
I just,
Doesn't seem like a good
I think
thing.
she was probably grieving too, I mean, it wasn't like that, but it was also like, man, this is real, So I went through 6 weeks of that, and then
Were you struggling with any suicidal thoughts or any?
I'll get there.
Okay, all right.
So then, mind you, I'm 20 during this time, and I'm still trying to live a life as a 20-year-old with my friends. I had an apartment, and so once those 6-week injections were done, what they would do is they sent me home with needles and the medicine, and I would inject myself every 3 days. And that first night of the injection was exactly what I said before. Massive headache, throwing up, high fever. It was the same every time. The second day would be like a little better. The third day would be like a little better, but then it was back right at it.
Yeah.
So it never went away. It was just a constant cycle to the point where I forgot what I felt like. Like I forgot what it felt like to feel good.
Yeah, yeah.
But during that time, I was living in an apartment, still doing these injections. Mind you, all my friends were still in college and they were doing their thing. Here, I'm just struggling along. It was really stupid looking back. But there was a time that we were all hanging out around the pool, and I'm all jacked up on chemo, you know. And I walked home, and I'm from Arizona, so it gets hot. Well, so does the ground, asphalt, concrete. It all gets smoking hot. And I was walking back to my apartment on the 3rd story, and I passed out on the stairs. And I hit my face on the stairs, and it actually burned the whole side of my face because it was so hot. And I don't remember if that was kind of the change, but I remember leaving after that. Like I went home. I went to my parents.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't maintain that lifestyle and do what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I went home. I'm taking the injections. The protocol for the interferon was 12 months was what they wanted to do for a year. So I'm taking the injections. Well, it kind of got bad, and it was good and bad. So I started about probably 180, 185 was kind of my walk around rate. I got down to, I think the lowest on interferon I hit was like 132.
Dang.
So I lost a ton of weight. I wasn't sleeping. I had been taking Paxil, which is a nasty drug, I think. And on top of it, I felt mentally like I was strong. So I felt like I could take more than they're telling me. So I was taking more than they told me to take, and they never adjusted it for the weight I lost. So I was probably taking way too much, you know?
Yeah.
And I just had that mindset like, I'm tough, I can deal with it. It'll be better. Well, what ended up happening was I went into this like full-blown manic state. And I don't remember a lot of it, but I do remember I had some pretty awesome things happen in that state of mind. And one night I was laying at my parents' house. They had a guest house, and that was where I stayed. And I was laying there, and I remember feeling for the first time, I questioned God. I said, "Are you even real? I don't even, I think you just hung me out to dry. I don't even know if you're real anymore." And I'm laying there, and I said, "If you're so real, prove it to me." And I know you're not supposed to do that, but I was in a bad spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember something kind of cheesy, like my feet went numb or something like that. And I was like, "Really? You think that's going to believe you?" I said, "Prove to me you're real. And I swear to you with everything that I am and my truth, that out of nowhere, I get just this piercing pain in my wrist that had me buckled back in my bed, like someone was piercing my wrist to the cross. And that lasted probably about 20, 30 seconds. And then it released. And I just said, "I'll never question you again." And that was that was one of the greatest moments of my life.
Dang, man.
Yeah. And after that, and granted, I went into the hospital. They thought I was bipolar, all this stuff. But during that time too, I could remember getting in my Jeep and just going for drives. And I would just connect with people, and I would stop, talk to people. And I believe that Holy Spirit was with me during those conversations and telling people whatever they needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But they ended up putting me in a hospital, and I went through a whole bunch of stuff, and they ended up pulling me off of the drugs. That it was just having too many negative effects.
Yeah, and so you talk. It's interesting to me that you. I'd like to hear more about like that. You said you went into a full-blown manic state. You wind up in a hospital. Like, what does that look like? But also having this ability within that state or that mindset to even question God and then to receive the input that he gives you, the sign that he gives you. And then you're going out, you're connecting with people like that. This is a strange dynamic here, man.
Yeah.
We hear, what is the other side of it?
The other side of it is that I was crazy. If you ask maybe some friends around me, I lost a lot of friends during that time, but my mom or what it looked like to them, it looked like I was nuts. But to me, it was real. And it'll be real till the day I die. And I talked to my pastor about it.
Was it just a twisted view of reality, or describe that to me?
He just, I've really felt like I was walking side by side with Jesus. I really do.
Huh.
And like he said, he goes, look, maybe these drugs and everything you got going on, maybe it just opened up that channel of communication, regardless of the fact, it's real to me.
Yeah.
And, that moment in my bed was one of the greatest moments of my life.
Yeah.
And I believe it. No one will ever convince me otherwise.
So how did you wind up back in the hospital and then them making the determination to take you off the medication?
My behaviors, I think, just got so all over the place. I guess I went and spent some money I shouldn't have spent. And, I think my parents were probably just scared, and I wasn't in a good place,
Yeah.
like I say. And a lot of that came down to Paxil. It seems like everything I did, it'd be like maybe a 3% chance that you could get these side effects. Well, I got them all. And
what is Paxil?
It's an antidepressant.
Okay.
And in order to take interferon, you had to be on an antidepressant. So,
yeah,
it could have been that, that it causes that manic behavior, just that impulsive behavior.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It could have just been that, but I think it was a lot of it. I think it was, like I said, a lot of weight loss, too much chemo,
yeah,
not enough sleep, all that.
Well, I'm still, and I feel like you're holding something back on me because I'm still trying to grasp this picture of feeling, of having the feeling that you're walking side by side with Jesus. That's an interesting statement. But, you would think that that would produce good results. Not results that would wind you up. Like if you had that feeling that you were walking side by side with Jesus, and like you said, it's not even a feeling to you. You're saying you can't convince me that this wasn't the reality. You would think that would produce good results and portray good things. So what was there? I think you're very passionate about the spiritual warfare side of things. Was there conflict? Was there some other more of a sinister or evil influence producing the negative?
I don't think so. I think that my reality was just not everybody else's reality. Like I almost felt, looking back, just out of body experience. What I was seeing and feeling, nobody else saw and felt. Like it just, I think there were good things. I can remember having conversations with people, and they just be bawling. I don't know these people. And that's
Really?
why I say you won't convince me otherwise.
Wow, man.
But from an outside perspective looking in, I mean, they
You look like
they
a
thought I
crazy
was
man.
bipolar.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
tested me for being bipolar. So
And how long did that last?
honestly, I'm not sure because that time was so hazy.
Was it like a year or like months? Or?
No, just probably. I bet it was probably like a progressive month.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, like I said, they pulled me off because they just said you're having too many complications.
I've never heard a story like this. This is very interesting to me. And so when they pulled you off the medications, how did that affect you?
Yeah. So so they pulled me off, and at the time, I think I made it about 6 months, and like I said, the protocol was a year, and they took me off. The plan was to take some time off, get some bearings underneath you. We'll talk about it. So I took that time off, and I basically just told my oncologist, I'm done. I ain't doing it anymore. Not gonna happen. I said I'm good with wherever we're at. So I went and I got a job. I did the training. So about a month had went by with nothing. And I just remember getting this overwhelming fear that I'm not doing enough, that I'm quitting too early. So as soon as I got the job, I quit the job. And I called the oncologist and I said, all right, I'm coming back. Let's do this thing. So I went back in. We started where we left off, but this time they put me on a drug or a antidepressant called Zoloft.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what was worse. The Paxil was real manic. The Zoloft made me feel really not like myself. I just remember smiling a lot, but thinking as I'm smiling, why the heck are you smiling? And that's a bad feeling, just to feel that detached from yourself. That's the way it made me feel. So I don't really remember anything too eventful. I just kind of remember just a slow progression of just not in a good direction. So I was living with my parents at this time again, and I did it for about another 3 months. And
Same side effects from the chemo?
Yeah, same side effects as far as the flu symptoms, all that never went away. I mean,
Back
that was
into
always
that.
there. I wasn't having the manic stuff, but I thought that I had told my mom that I was just going to take my Jeep and smash it into a wall. That's how I remember it. But I was just talking to her leading up to this, and she actually told me, which it's kind of hard to hear, but I actually asked her to kill me. I asked her to take me out, that I was done. And when I asked her that, they pulled me off. And they said, "You're done. We're not doing this anymore." And so that was that. That was 9. I ended up doing it 9 months. And that was that.
So you don't remember asking her to do that?
I don't.
Man. Holy smokes, dude.
Yeah.
So
It's a nasty drug.
gosh, dog, man.
I mean, it in a different way reminds me of the conversation we had about the people. I know you were taking these drugs because they were required, but we had the conversation on the podcast about the people that take these drugs in order to try to get those essentially side effects that you had, but in a different way, like the kind of mind-altering drugs. And that was a side effect that you got from taking that, but I almost think of it like, you had that connection with Jesus through that because, like, at that point, everything kind of was stripped away from you, right? Like, it was kind of life or death, and you're at this point, and now you're just thinking, well, I mean, I feel like crap. I've got this cancer. I might die. Who knows? I'm taking this drug and all of this, and God is just able to reveal himself to you because you're in that state almost.
And that's like what my pastor was saying. That's kind of what he was saying.
Yeah.
Take all that outside influence away. You strip it all away.
Yeah.
And then that's what's plugging up your filter.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you go out in a much, much smaller scale, you go out for a run and like the run gets hard or whatever, and then really none of the other stuff that's going on in the world matters. Like what you talk about at mid-state, like it's just one foot in front of the other. That's really all that matters. And this was just a life scenario of that on a much grander scale.
Yeah. Well, you made the statement earlier, John, that this kind of obviously this changed the trajectory of your life in a big way. You come to your mom and you ask her to take you out. Good gosh, man, I can't imagine how she reacted to that.
I mean, my parents, the whole time this whole story is, for me personally, I never really felt like I was going to die. You know, like how you talk about you cannot die. I believe so much that whatever happened to me, God had me. Like it was what it is.
No kidding. So you felt that peace throughout all this?
I never really felt like I was going to die.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I probably had moments where I felt I was going to die, but it didn't bother me. I was good with it. It was what it was.
No kidding, man.
Yeah. And so I didn't really stress on that. You know, I did what I had to do. This is the hand you dealt me, so I'm going to do it. But I also never wallowed around in pity about it.
Yeah.
I just did it.
So after this interaction with your mom, and then obviously, all right, well, I guess, did she raise the flag and then so they're like, all right, we got to take you off this stuff because it's
just not working.
It's not working.
Right.
Like, what I got to know, what's it look like after that? I mean,
so after that, I never got back into school after that. I tried, but I was just wasting money and effort. I could never get back into college. So, I ended up going to work for my dad full time, building homes.
how fast do you recover mentally? Like, how fast do you, because like you said, when you approached your mom and you asked her that question, life was so hazy. The reality was so warped at that time. You don't even remember that. Like, how long did it take before you came back to where you were feeling like John again and you were back in control?
I don't really remember. It was that hazy.
Yeah.
That I'm not real sure.
But eventually you worked yourself back into that.
Yeah, I think it came back pretty quick.
Okay.
I don't remember it being
Well, it's almost
too
like
big of a
you
deal.
didn't get that way yourself. The drug made you think that way, and it's like you take the drug away and you kind of get your
that's what I'm wondering.
your mind back.
Yeah, it's a bad feeling. That's one of the worst feelings I had of this whole thing, because this happened numerous times where you really feel disconnected from yourself. And that thought of like, who am I? Like, truly, who am I? Is a bad thought.
That's scary, man.
Yeah, and I got there a few times.
But that came back pretty quick after coming off the drug. It wasn't like a 2 or 3 year-long process where you're like trying to sort things out.
Yeah.
Man, that's wild.
Yeah.
It's almost like you take the jumper cable off the battery, and it's like you quit taking the drug and the cable goes right back on, and you kind of got power again.
Well, I
mean,
that's a testament to God's creation. Our bodies are perfect.
Yeah.
They will heal themselves.
Yeah.
I believe that.
So how now you come out of this and you say you go back to work with, well, you don't get back in school. You start working with your dad, right? Mm-hmm. You start feeling like John again. Where are you at in your relationship with Christ at this point? Like, how did this whole experience?
I'm in a good place.
Okay.
I mean, I think I still chose to make bad decisions, but I was in a good place. I went on a missions trip to Africa to build some stuff, and that was an amazing experience. I feel like it was a lot of ups and downs, but overall, since that night I had that experience, I never questioned God again. I mean, I did stupid things.
Yeah.
But, I was sold out for Jesus, and I have been since. So I go back to work, and I'm healthy for about 2.5 years, I believe. And all of a sudden, I start losing a bunch of weight. And there's no real reason for it. So I went to a doctor, and I was pretty ignorant at this time. I didn't, when I got done with the first one, I didn't really think it'd ever come back. I thought it was done. So I went to a couple different doctors, got some pretty ignorant responses to what was going on. But eventually I couldn't even conversate without coughing. I couldn't breathe. And it just was continuous coughing. And I'm dropping weight like quick. So I finally go back to my oncologist, and they do a chest x-ray. Well, and I had chest x-rays done, and other doctors missed this somehow. But I get to him, they do whatever test they did. Come to find out, I have a tumor the size of like an old flip phone, like an old flip cell phone, and it's right next to my heart and my wind passage.
That's a big tumor.
Yeah, and that's why I can't talk, because it's actually closing my windpipe, and I'm choking.
Gosh, man.
So I go to my oncologist.
Hold on. Let's take a break. Take a break. This episode of the 3 of 7 podcast is brought to you by Xoskin. Hey, man, Xoskin, it's fitness apparel, right? Socks, shorts, shirts, arm sleeves, beanies. They've got a whole lineup. They can cover you from head to toe. I've been using Xoskin now for probably 3 years. And look, I use their products exclusively for ultra running, for training, everything that I do. I will only put Xoskin socks on my feet. I prefer their toe socks. They are hands down the best on the market. Everything that they make is American made. And the technology behind the fabrics that they use is second to none. They've actually designed fabrics that channel moisture and sweat away from your skin, that help prevent chafing, helps prevent discomfort. These things are amazing, everything from head to toe. I love the compression shorts, the short ones. The only good-looking thing on me, really, in my opinion, is my legs. So I always get the short shorts so I can show off my quads a little bit. It's never failed me. So I want you guys to just give Xoskin a try. Look, you get what you pay for. This is a company that stands behind their products because they know that they work and they've been tested out on the battlefield of life. The website is xoskin.us. That's XOSKIN.us. Give them a follow on Instagram at xoskin.usa. I'll attach the website, the show notes, and the pro code that they give to us as 3 of 7 podcast listeners. Yeah, we get a discount on all their stuff. So, Xoskin, thanks for always supporting me from day one of my journey as an ultra runner. Thanks for pouring into creating the best products on the market. And thank you for supporting the 3 of 7 podcast since the beginning. All right, guys, we're back. We just found out that John's headphones were turned pretty much off the entire first half of our conversation here. So
no, they were definitely off.
How's it sound now, John?
A lot different.
He was basically just wearing these things over his ears.
They were earmuffs.
Yeah. Earmuffs, yeah, that's right. So this is the way these things are supposed to sound. Anyways, okay, man, this thing just keeps coming. 2 years. You say about 2 years. You're clear. You start dropping all this weight. You get to where you can't have a conversation without coughing, and you go get a chest x-ray, which had been done prior. They hadn't seen anything, but luckily now they catch a tumor the size of a cell phone, old flip phone, next to your heart and your windpipe. What in the world, dude?
Yeah, so
what goes through your head when you get that news?
I don't remember, again, I don't remember being real afraid. It was what it was. And so we go back to the doctor, and the doctor says, this is bad. He goes, this is real bad. They basically gave me, they gave me a 5% chance of living through this. So
5%, that ain't good, brother.
Yeah, no, it ain't good. So they find the tumor, and he says, all right, we need to biopsy this thing. So what they do is I went in, they laid me down, and they went in through my back to take a biopsy of this tumor to make sure that it was in fact melanoma. Well, during that biopsy, they punctured my lung, and I went home, and I couldn't breathe. So then, of course, I go back to the hospital, and they're like, "Oh man, we punctured your lung." Gosh. And like I say, it was just common. It was like anything that could go wrong went wrong. And so I remember being in the hospital, and they put this little, I don't know if it was like a relief thing or it was. I think it drained the fluid out of your lung, is what it was, and it went right through your rib. And
Old chest tube.
I have never. I don't know if that was installed wrong or what, but I have never, ever experienced pain like that thing caused me.
Oh, yeah.
I was on a morphine drip. I just remember for like 2 or 3 days, whatever it was, I just sat there hitting that thing. I didn't sleep, nothing. And as soon as they pulled that thing out, it just like I just collapsed. Like I have never experienced pain like that thing.
Yeah.
So
I remember having a chest tube in after my heart surgery. Same deal. That crap freaking hurts, dude.
yeah, it hurt.
It's a tube going into your chest cavity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so makes sense that it hurts. But
Okay, so
this was just from the biopsy, though.
This is just the biopsy. This is after they told me I'm going to die. Then they punctured my lung. So I go in.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Hey, sorry about your luck, bud.
Yeah.
So I go back in, and he's like, this is bad. This is bad. This is real bad. Well, at the time, my sister found an oncologist, and a naturopathic doctor. And I'll just refer to him as Jake. And this man is amazing. Like the smartest man I've ever met. And luckily, my oncologist and the naturopath decided to work together. And what Jake believed was the answer isn't just naturopathic medicines, and it's not just chemotherapy. It's the fact of the two working together is where the secret is. And I like to explain chemotherapy like this. If I take a steak and I hit it in the mud, and that steak drops in the mud, and then I hit it again, it goes further and further. Eventually that steak's going to be buried. So what he thought and what they looked at was, yeah, you hit it with the chemo, right? But then I'm going to pull you back up. And I'm going to hit it, and I'm going to pull you back up. So you're trying to keep some level of healthiness to your body, right?
Yeah.
So that was a huge blessing that these two guys came together. But so I go to my oncologist. This is kind of working out the plan of attack on this thing because they can't do surgery. It's too close to my heart. They can't do nothing. They say, okay, we're gonna hammer this thing with chemotherapy. And what the plan was they were going to put me in a hospital. They were going to hit me with 5 different chemotherapies for 5 days straight. And then I would get out of the hospital. I would rest for a week and recover. And then I would go to Jake for 2 weeks. Okay. So the chemotherapy, he starts telling me what to expect from the chemotherapy. He starts breaking down all these drugs. I don't even remember what the side effects were. It was like kidney failure, lung failure, everything's failing.
It's essentially poison, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah. So he gives me this rap sheet of what to expect, and I looked at him, and I go, hey, listen, man, it sure seems like you're trying to kill this tumor without killing me. And he looks me square in the face, and he says, that's exactly what I'm doing. And he was, like I said, he was in Time Magazine, 30 years in the field. He said, this is the worst prescription of chemotherapy I have ever given anybody.
But you got to pull out all the stops when you ain't got but a 5% chance.
Right. I mean, they just wipe your whole body clean. You got nothing. You got zero across the board. Zero
immune
white blood
system.
Nothing. You just wiped out. So that was his side of it. Jake's side of it was vitamins, nutrition. This is when I started to really learn about what you're inputting into your body, the effects of it, And so what we were going to do with him was the nutrition, and then also these vitamin C therapies. Have you ever heard of these?
I've heard of that. The Gershon.
So they're pretty cool. So how they work is, I would go in and I would get a vitamin C therapy. It was 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C, way more than you can ingest because you just get sick. Well, a vitamin C cell, when it's ingested into your blood, looks exactly like a sugar cell. Well, sugar cell, all your cells see sugar like kid in a candy store, right? It just takes it all in. Well, what happens when a sugar cell is ingested into your normal cells, it turns into hydrogen peroxide. And just like you get a cut on your leg and you pour hydrogen peroxide, it bubbles up.
Yeah.
It does the same thing. But your healthy cells, they're strong and they can digest it, get rid of it, doesn't harm it. Your cancer cells are actually weak. So what it ends up doing is breaking the cell membrane or killing the nucleus. Either way, dead cell. So the idea was hit it with the chemo, build you back up, get rid of anything little with the vitamin C's. Mm-hmm. That was the plan. So I had to get a port for all this. So I had a port put in, and that thing was horrible. Just anything like just not part of your body being like that. It's just such a terrible feeling. And it went straight into my jugular. So the chemo was just plugged right into my chest. So, okay, all right, here we go. So I go in for the first one, just an absolute disaster, like way more than you could even imagine. I describe it as like Exorcism Sick, the movie where she's just like projecting vomiting. Mm-hmm. That's the sickness where it was. Mm. And like I said, my poor mother was there the whole time through all of this. She's just a saint. But so one of the drugs was called interleukin, and it was a little bag about like this, and it was on day 5. The nurses wouldn't even touch the bag that the chemotherapy was in. They had these big rubber hazmat gloves, and they would hang that bag, and I would get 4 drops of that per hour for 24 hours. And as soon as that drug hit my body, lights out. I don't remember anything. All I remember was waking up and get me the heck out of this hospital. And that the nurses actually called that the devil's drip. That was their name for it.
Would you pass out or?
I just don't remember anything at that point. It just was that violently sick.
Holy smokes, man.
Yeah. So I get through the first round of chemo. I rest for a week, and I go to Jake for now his protocol, our plan. And I go in there. I think I was 24, 25 at the time. And I went in there just bawling. And I said, dude, I'll die. I ain't doing this. Not going to happen. Not worth it.
You're not going back to the chemo.
I am doing it again.
Yeah.
And he's, just like I said, just an amazing man. I just can't say enough about this guy.
But now, by the way, why can't you reveal his actual identity?
I don't know. Can I? Is that cool? I reached out to him. I never heard to him.
Well,
he goes by Jake. His name's Dr. Jonathan Pasenka. And like I say, first of all, you got to understand this whole cancer world, you're pretty much just a cow and you get pushed around. No, there's no real person to person. Nobody cares, it seems like.
Yeah.
So for him just to be like a breath of fresh air and just have the backing that he brought to me was huge.
And how did you guys find him? I mean, I know your sister.
My sister found him online, and
okay.
We had known another lady that was going through breast cancer, and she was doing naturopath only. And she was talking about this clinic. Well, he had learned from the clinic. Somehow we just found him.
Okay. Was he local?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he lived in Scottsdale. So I went into Jake bawling, and I said, dude, I'll die. I don't care. We're not doing this. And he coached me up. He says, no, you're fine. You're strong. You can do this. You built me up. He goes, I'll pull you out of this. You're going to do it. You're going to be fine. So he coached me out of it. And I do the therapies, and on we go. So did I mention it was 4 months? Did I mention that?
I don't think you mentioned that.
So it was 4 months. The plan was 4 months to do this 4 months.
Okay.
and then reevaluate what the tumor is doing, how it's reacting.
And what were you doing with Jake? I mean, how did the vitamin C stuff go? How did that was he strict diet? I mean, what were you doing with him?
Yeah, it was
That's 2 weeks, right?
yeah.
With him.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah, total change of diet. I mean, we had a big awakening to I mean it's just so messed up looking back. Like going back to the interferon, I'd be in a room with 10 other people getting chemotherapy and they'd be handing out popsicles and cookies to make you feel better.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how messed up is that?
Yeah.
Knowing what I know now. Are you kidding me? You know? So I learned a lot. So the diet changed. I was on a whole rap sheet of supplements, and the vitamin C, was it working? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is I really loved that guy. And he helped me get through it, build me up through that. So I go back to the hospital. Second time goes. I don't remember anything too eventful. I'm just getting weak. And I mean, I'm basically dead man walking. Like I looked like I was dead. I got down to 126 pounds on that. So that's, dropping 50 pounds, quite a bit of weight.
Yeah.
So I go to the third one. At this time I'm bald. I'm just a mess. It just feels terrible.
Any evidence that it's working?
Nobody checked. I mean, you don't check.
Oh, okay.
It's just this was the protocol. You're going to do it and we'll evaluate.
Okay.
So third time I go in, same thing, get through it, get out of the hospital. I go home, but this time I'm recovering and I'm starting just to puke up blood. And I mean a lot of blood. It wasn't a little bit. It was scary. So immediately I live about an hour and 15 minutes from the hospital. So, and at the time I'm living with my parents now, like 24, 25, but I can't even function. Like I have to have them there. We haul butt down to the hospital and I'm dying in that car that night. I know for a fact I was dying. I could feel it. Like I said my goodbyes to my parents, and it was, my dad was just flying. And we get to the hospital, and this is coming from my mom because I don't remember this at all. She said the emergency room was just packed, like not an empty chair in the whole place. And she said that there was this old man that worked at the hospital that he seemed really out of place. Just an old, like real sweet man. And he took one look at us and immediately put me in a wheelchair and immediately bypassed everyone and took me back. And we never saw him again. And she believes that that old man was an angel that happened. Because I was dying. I believe with my whole heart I was dying. Come to find out, I got staph infection in the last go around in the hospital. And mind you, I have zero immune system.
Yeah.
Like no white blood cells whatsoever. So I'm back in the hospital for a week, and I had like a week full of just IV antibiotics, and I get better, and they release me. I go on my way. Go with Jake. I don't remember a whole lot again with the fourth one, but I do want to say this is also during this time, I lost a lot of friends, and it's really not to anybody's. I'm not mad at anybody. I mean, we were pretty young people, and they just don't know how to handle it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But during this time that this was going on, my wife, we were friends at the time, but she was like one of the only people that really went out of her way. Like she would send me I remember, I'll never forget, she drove me a picture of a monkey, and all it said was just hang in there, right? But here's this girl that I don't even really know that well, and she's taking time for me, and it was just incredible just to have that support.
Where and when did you meet her for the first?
Like,
how is she in your life?
I met her like 2 years before that, but at the time I had a girlfriend who was just a horrible person, but I was young and we just weren't really in the right place. Yeah. But I had known her, but I think we went on a couple dates, but that was it. And, but she was reaching out to me, and it was just, it meant a lot at that time because really,
well, I bet it did.
There wasn't a lot outside of my family and those people,
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of that, you know, and she took time for that. So I think it's important. But so I go through the fourth one. Again, I don't remember much. I just remember getting through it. And I go back to the doctor. I have some tests done, you know, CAT scans, PET scans. I've had more of those than you can, who knows how many of those I've had. So I go back in to see what the results say. Where do we go from here? Because that was the plan. Where do we go from here? And I go in there, and he says, John, I don't have any scientific explanation for what I'm going to tell you. I've never seen anything like this in my career, but your cancer's gone. I go, what?
Huh.
He goes, it's gone. He goes, you got a wadded up piece of scar tissue in your chest. That's it. And that moment was almost like that moment in my bed where it was like, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. And I tell people, I tell the medical field, they look at my rap sheet and they're like blown away I'm alive.
Dude, what was your reaction to that news? I mean, that's big news.
What's funny is I had a tattoo appointment at the time. And when I felt that, I called my pastor friend. I was like, dude, this just happened. And I changed my tattoo. And I got tattooed and celebrated. What do you do? I've truly felt God touch me and heal me from an unhealable thing. So, and mind you, during this time, I had a huge prayer group. My sister's community's massive. I bet you I had, who knows, 20, 30,000 people. I really believe there was that many people praying for me. My family was super supportive. So I had a lot of people backing me up, but God truly touched me and healed me.
Through this process, did you have the capacity to pray yourself?
I'm sure I did. It was so intense. I just don't remember a lot of it. You know, there's just no real clarity during that time.
Mm-hmm.
I know there were still times of doubts. Like my mom told me during that time that, you know, I would tell her that God forgot me, you know, that I felt like I was on my own. So I think there was still that struggle. But, you know, I would like to think that, yeah, I still had a relationship. I mean, I always have.
But you were at a point, it sounds like you were so beat down
Mm-hmm.
that you were relying heavily on the body of Christ.
Oh, yeah.
Where they were essentially making intercession for you on your behalf.
Yeah.
And how did your family react to this freaking awesome, like unbelievable miracle?
Oh, I mean, what do you say? I mean, there's no explanation.
Did you just go up to him and be like, "Hey, my cancer's gone," or like?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, yeah. Like I said, there's no explanation. Like, how much better of a testimony can you get?
Did you believe it? Like, if I'm putting myself in that situation, I'm like, all right, yeah, you told me that, but I leave and
show me the picture.
There's still something that's like, them jokers have messed up enough on me. I don't know about this.
I could tell you, man. I
I
never was afraid.
Yeah.
So when they told me that, I just was like, of course it is. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know.
That seems like typical John fashion.
Yeah, I could see that.
It was awesome, man. I mean,
well,
so we get through that. You have no cancer. God is good. And they said, look, we still want you to go through radiation just to make sure there's nothing going on. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Radiate me all you want. I'm good. So I got pinpoint radiation. I think it was like 6 or 8 weeks. And that wasn't, I mean, it messed my throat up from the radiation. I had a hard time eating, but I mean, compared to what I just came up off, I mean, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I felt like nothing. So I healed up. It took a while to heal from that. At that time, my wife, being who she was during that time, it really made me like, what are you doing? Like, here you have this amazing woman. Like, what are you doing? So we started dating. And after that too, I wasn't supposed to have kids. They told me absolutely 100% you'll never have kids. It's not going to happen. This chemo is going to wipe you clean.
Yeah.
So I took the steps to, save some specimens and whatever in case I ever wanted it. But, so my wife, when we got married, I took on 2 kids and we started dating and it got serious. I got married. She ended up getting pregnant, which was not supposed to happen. Another miracle in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin was never supposed to be. And life was good. I mean, I just had a young family. Things were moving forward. God pulled me out of this horrible place I was in, and now we're living for Jesus. Save me. On we go. Well, about 2.5 years later, everything's going good, and I start getting this pain in my stomach, like a real sharp pain. And I just distinctly remember I was at work, and it felt like someone stabbed me in the stomach, and it dropped me to the ground. It buckled my knees. And I didn't mess around this time. I went straight back to the doctor. They did their test, and again, my doctor says, man, I've seen this. I've heard of this 2 times in my career, and you're the 3rd. But you have a tumor in your small intestine. He goes, this doesn't happen normally. And I go, okay. So I just got married. My wife's pregnant. I got a baby on the way. I got 2 beautiful kids. Life's good. And for the first time in this whole process, I was pissed. And I straight up said, like, what's your problem, God? We've been through this.
Yeah.
I've learned my lessons. Why am I here again? And I was mad. And it didn't last long. I got over it, but I was mad. So back we go to the oncologist and all that and get a plan. And this was the first time that they could actually do surgery. So it was good. So I had surgery. They went in, they cut 11 inches out of my small intestine, put me back together, told me I could have all these complications just from that. I get through it. Thank God I've had no complications with it. And then again, they say, okay, well, what now? What are we going to do now? So what they came up with is they wanted me to do 3 years of a low dose white blood cell booster. And they said the effects of this is pretty minor. You're going to be sore, might be a little irritated, but pretty minor. I said, all right. Well, that's what I did. The problem with that was they gave me a unlimited supply of Percocet, 100 at a time, unlimited refills. And that it really saddens me because this time in my life, I don't remember much. And looking back, I was just in a fog. I don't remember being in a good place. I don't really remember being in a bad place. I just don't really remember it.
Yeah.
But those pills became a problem. And that's all it was I was just running through these pills. And looking back, it's like, man, how do you give someone just an unlimited supply? And it was literally like that. I could run out and go fill it. Run out, go fill it.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing, no monitoring that.
When did you recognize that it was a problem or maybe even going to be a problem?
Well, like I said, going back to how I was before all this started, I think I've kind of always had that problem of addiction. Like I have an addict's mind. I don't really remember thinking about it until the end. And it had been about 2.5 years and I was working construction for my dad, and we were living our lives. And I just distinctly remember going into my bathroom and looking myself in the mirror, and I go, dude, who are you? I just completely lost myself. And I don't know how I did this, but I took those pills, I threw them away, I called my doctor, and I said, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. So I quit 6 months early. And yeah, and so
was that is, I don't know how you did that either without having to go to a treatment facility or something else. So, I mean, what, as you're going through this and you have this unlimited supply of pain medication, which I, of all people, know from watching my family members struggle with the same type of drugs. It's a very, very powerful drug. Did it get to a point where you were abusing them?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I was taking stupid amounts a day, and it wasn't. I don't even remember them doing anything. It was just like a subconscious take them. You know. Yeah. It got to that, and you know, looking back, I'm not sure what spurred me along, but man, it hit me like a train upside the head, and I just quit.
Huh. No withdrawals, no.
I just quit.
You just quit.
Never went back.
Huh.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that doesn't usually happen.
Yeah. Right.
So you
my struggles didn't quit. Let me just be clear. I still had a lot of issues coming up, but
yeah,
that particular thing, and looking forward in life, like those pills, they could be a problem if I would let it. But that time where I was, I just cold turkey quit.
I'll be dang. And what else were you dealing with alongside this? I mean,
like I said, it's a sad time of my life because I feel like I missed a lot of my kids' lives.
Yeah.
At a very important age. I just kind of felt like a zombie. I just don't remember a lot about it. And I think it's probably just, I don't know if it was the medication or the pills or both or what. I mean, I was working. I held a job. I was good at my job.
Yeah.
I've never had a problem with that, but I don't remember any depth to me during that time.
Mm-hmm. And how many years ago was this?
So this would have been, I think I stopped in, I want to say 2000, either like the tail end of 2008 or 2009. Because when I stopped, that's when the economy was so bad.
Yep.
And that's when I switched careers.
Yep.
And I told my interview board, I said, look, I don't need a job. I have a job. So if I have an issue medically and you're going to hang me out to dry, don't hire me. Because I've had problems, and I don't want any skeletons in the closet. I'm being upfront with you. So it was pretty quick after that, that I switched careers.
Yeah.
So
did you, once you made that switch, I mean, I'm trying to understand, like, when did you, at this time frame, you make that switch? Are you now back in a good place where you feel like you're part of your children's lives? You're good with your wife, your faith, that type of stuff. I mean, this has been a lot of ups and downs, man. I mean, did you recover fairly quickly after this bout too, or?
I've been thinking a lot about that recently, and I think I just kept going forward. I don't even think I processed the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think I just moved forward, and it needed to happen. I don't think, I don't want to speak for my wife, but I don't know if switching to line work, you got to understand, from 20 to 30, I was sick and I relied on my parents. So like that whole time of becoming a man and finding your way, I got robbed of that.
Yeah.
you know, and line work gave me that. It pushed me. It was uncomfortable.
Gotcha.
I had to start traveling, all these things that it really spurred me along of just who I am as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed that. I think I know our marriage needed that. And so once I got into line work, well, then I'm on the road. So I went literally from that to being on the road. And I like I said, I don't think I ever I didn't work through that, you know?
Well, without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, I just kept going.
Yeah.
So, which led to a lot more problems.
Yeah. That's got to come to a head at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, you talking problems spiritually, emotionally, within your marriage, or more health problems?
No, so that was it. As far as the cancer goes,
that's it. That was the last bout.
That was it. My son, he just turned 13. When he was born, I was going through that, and I've been clean since.
Awesome.
And I don't get any yearly checkups. I don't do any of that. And my wife and I decided at some point, you still have to live your life. So how much are you going to subject yourself to these tests and more radiation? I mean, like, I've been subjected to more radiation than probably anyone I'll ever meet.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So at what point do you say, okay, God, you got me? Or I'm going to sweat the small things and just stress this the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And we just chose to let it go.
Yeah.
And I haven't been tested since. So,
well, at what point does this transition now into line work, you not processing what you had just went through, not only with cancer, but with the pills and all that stuff? Now you make this switch. You're on the road. You're essentially running and gunning, man. Where does this come to a head? And you've made some changes.
Yeah.
Because you're a good dude now. I mean, you feel like you're in a solid place now.
Here's the thing. I was a good dude then.
Well, yeah.
I just made bad choices.
That's right.
And I got into this routine. Line work, where you make your money is overtime. So we work a lot. Well, unfortunately, being on the road, being with your buddies, it ends up a lot of drinking after work. And I got into this cycle of work, drink, work, sleep, drink, work, drink, sleep. I mean, you know, before you know it, I mean, that's a bad rut to get into. And I see it a lot. That went on for years, you know, and
even at home or just on the road?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Even at home. And
does your wife have a good foundation of faith?
Super solid.
Was she not calling you out on this?
She did towards the end, but no.
Okay.
You know, I don't think I probably drank as much as I did on the road when I would be home, but I would still drink on the road. I mean, when I was home.
Yeah.
It just became it became a nightly thing. I mean, I literally drank every night for years. And I was good at it in the sense that I never showed up late. It never affected my job. No one would ever know if I was drinking.
Didn't look like a problem?
Massive problem, but it didn't look like it.
Yeah.
You know, massive problem for me. So this went on for years, and I worked a lot of jobs, and it just became a cycle of, it's just a bad, vicious cycle of me being on the road, coming home, not having a very good weekend, and then going back on the road. And it just was like that for years. And I want to say probably 7 years go by of this. And I was working in Yuma, which is about 2.5 hours from my house. And I had been feeling God tell me, like, dude, you got to get a grip. This is out of control.
Yeah.
And I went through this daily of, you're right, today's the day. And I would go to work. I'd come home. And before you know it, I'd already have a beer in my hand, or I'd be at the store buying a beer. Subconsciously, I lost the battle before it ever started. And then at that night, I would drink, and because I've always had a relationship with Christ, so I'd be praying, God forgive me for I'm weak.
Yeah.
For years I prayed that you would break the chains of this addiction that has me bound up. And it bothered me that it was the one thing in my life that I didn't have control over. It just ate me up.
Mm-hmm. But you still felt the conviction there, which is, I think that's a beautiful thing, because I think the one that you can't come back from is when you no longer can feel that conviction. Mm-hmm. And that's that reprobate mind. Yeah. When you no longer see the destruction that's being caused by your lifestyle choice. Right. So that's beautiful and that's a testament that he never left you or forsook you, even during that time where you're consciously, you're making these bad decisions.
Yeah.
You know what he wants you to do. You're begging him for forgiveness and admitting your weakness to him. Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Awesome part of your testimony.
We were talking with Paul's family, and Amy brought it up. She said, when you were healed of your cancer, were you just like living life, high on life? And I'm like, never really thought about that. But no, I wasn't. I went right down another bad avenue.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't even, it's like I don't know if it's opportunity missed or what, but I just looking back, it's like, man, how do you...
that's what makes your story
How do you come out of that and get yourself in another thing?
That's what makes your story so different, man, is because most people that would have or have had a similar story to yours as it pertains to cancer, when they got that diagnosis that it's gone, right? Mm-hmm. That would have sent them on some path, not, and it wouldn't have looked like yours looked. You don't think, at least that's what you hear about.
I was hemmed up financially. I had built a nice house, back in like 2007, and I missed the mark of selling it, and I got stuck with it. And I did the right thing, what I felt was right, what July and I felt was right, and we kept the house, and we paid that house. And we kept that house for like 6 or 7 years. And that I worked just to pay for that house. I was financially strapped and obligated to that. And so I didn't really feel like I had much choice.
Yeah.
I just had to work. And that's all I did.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this at the time, but all I did was drink to bury all that. Mm-hmm. And I was probably burying my cancer stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
But I just didn't see it.
That's some significant trauma.
Yeah.
That you've been through up to this point right here.
Yeah.
So dude, you're feeling convicted about this lifestyle that you're living. You said your wife started pointing it out at the end. Well, how did that feel?
Oh, I mean, nobody wants to feel like a loser, right? I mean, I take pride in being a good example for those around me. And when you realize,
how did she approach you?
I don't really remember if she actually straight up called me out. I just remember I don't know if I think I was kind of searching at that point in time. I think I was kind of struggling to make a change. I was tired of the life I was living. I know I was. I was tired of the life I was living. I didn't really know how to turn the page. And she actually bought me Rich Roll's book. And that book it changed my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It did. Because his story resonated with me. The reason he drank, how he connected to alcohol hit me like side of the head. And it really made me think, okay, I think at the time I was probably 37, I'm 40 now. Like, you can do this. And that's what his story's about. And I read that book and something shifted in me. And I still would work, and I still struggled with God, that voice of saying, you need to quit. And honestly, I felt like it was going to take something really tragic, like a car accident, something like that, to snap me out of this. But about a year had gone by. I fixed my diet, didn't drink as much, but I still drank. And I finally just said, you know what? All right, I'll listen to you. I'll quit drinking for 1 year, and I'll see if it fixes my problems. And I did, and I just quit. So a year went by, and I didn't really get the effects that I thought, because for the first time, well, now I'm having to face my emotions. I'm having to face these things instead of just burying them. And then I start realizing that that's what I've been doing this whole time. I just don't want to deal with this stuff. And I didn't realize that was happening. So
Yeah.
I'm actually more angry not drinking than I was drinking, because I just didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see how there would be an anticipation when you made this conscious effort to say, okay, I'm going to stop this for a year and see how this. There's an expectation that your life is going to be changed in a positive way, you know?
Yeah.
And then the actual reality is no,
not at all.
no. Actually, it's rougher now because I'm having to deal with all this stuff. Not only past trauma, but day-to-day stress, anxiety.
It is a positive way. It just doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't feel good.
It don't feel good at all. But it's positive because it's sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Reality sometimes is not spectacular. Reality sometimes stinks, as a matter of fact. I've told the story before. I remember when my wife got clean, we went out to ride bicycles like a day or two after she got back from rehab. And this, your story really makes me see this in a different light, because I can only imagine she also had expectations that when I do get free from these chains of addiction, it's going to be just spectacular. And we went out to ride bicycles, beautiful day, spring day. Everything's just getting green. The sun's out, beautiful trail. We got these brand new bicycles. We go on this ride, and she just looks over at me and she's like, this is it? Like, just total letdown and disappointment that this is it. And I'm like, yeah, this is life. You got to learn. You've got to learn to, like, see how spectacular, I know it sounds corny, but the little things are. Like the sunshine, the fresh leaves budding out of the trees, the smells, the fact that we have this environment, this trail here to go and explore today. But that was like totally not what she expected life to be without these drugs. Like alcohol is the same thing.
Yeah.
To basically numb everything out.
Well,
that's a big transition, man.
And for me too, alcohol was always, what I finally realized is I was doing things because it gave me an excuse to drink. Like what I mean by that is, hey, you want to go to a baseball game? Oh yeah, I can drink during the day there.
Yeah.
Like everything revolved around me drinking.
Yep.
And it was that deep in me.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
For sure, man.
So I was just, that's all that mattered.
Another thing that's interesting to me about your testimony, John, is I've always believed that there is a spiritual component to any of these drugs that suck you into dependence, essentially alcohol or opiates or whatever it is. I mean, there's hundreds of them out there, that there's like legitimately a demonic force attached to those things. And it's really inspiring to me to hear that you still maintained a connection and a communication in a relationship with Jesus while you were fighting through this darkness. And that's exciting to me.
Yeah.
To hear that humans can, because to me, it's like when somebody goes down this road of addiction, it's almost like it cancels out any opportunity to be in relationship with Jesus, because this demonic force that is controlling the person through the addiction at this time basically overshadows any opportunity to have companionship with Christ. But for you, that was never completely severed.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I think these drugs, alcohol, I think it is by Satan's design to tear us down, to tear family structure down, all of that. And you're right. I was able to keep that relationship with Christ. And now looking back, the turmoil that I was in on a daily basis of knowing I'm living wrong,
yeah,
but still doing, I felt horrible about myself. And it was a daily beatdown of just inner turmoil of living my life.
Wow.
And that, I didn't realize how much that affected me for years. And it did.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that until I come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to mention this book because it also was a huge help to me quitting drinking. And it's called This Naked Mind by Annie Grace. And she shifts that idea surrounding alcoholism, that, hey, is it possible that this is just a highly addictive drug that's been accepted? Yeah, it is. And that book helped me a lot. Just changed my whole thought process around drinking as not a normal thing, not something you have to do as an adult.
Yep.
Not something you have to do at the baseball field,
Yeah. And, the fact that alcohol is a legal drug is a testament to the fact that it is probably the most destructive and powerful drug on earth. They can't ban it.
Yeah.
It's so powerful and it has so much control over society, culture, and humanity. They can't ban it. They can ban other drugs and make them illegal. They can't get rid of alcohol. No. It's that powerful.
Yeah.
They've tried, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are in a good place with it. Like my wife, for example, she can have a glass of wine and she won't have another glass of wine for 6 months. And she could care less if she has that one. So there are people that can manage it, but I think a lot of people don't realize what they're actually doing with it. When I quit drinking and I started people start seeing that I quit drinking, and they said, well, how come you're not drinking? And my response was, well, because I'm an alcoholic. And I said that because how are you going to argue with me? I'm drawing the fine line because I'm an alcoholic. I got a problem. I can't tell you how many people's response to that was, well, I don't drink that much. I said, well, who's talking about you? You're talking about me.
Yeah.
But immediately they start internalizing, well, I drink a lot. Does that mean, what am I doing?
Yeah.
They start seeing this. And I think that there's a lot of people that use alcohol for that reason and don't realize it.
Oh, I agree 100%.
I just thought the government can say, church, you can't meet. And everybody's like, well, all right. But if they said, Americans, you can't drink, you want to talk about a government overthrow?
They tried that.
I know.
Yeah.
But can you imagine it today? If they said you can no longer buy alcohol anymore.
Oh.
You don't talk about total collapse of the government.
Yeah.
Who's it? Well, I mean, that's a testament to who's in charge.
Yeah, exactly.
Of this current.
Yeah.
Of the earth since the fall of mankind, who's in charge?
Yeah.
Who's the prince of the power of the air that we're surrounded by? Right. Dang it, man. Oh man. Well.
Yeah, it's nasty stuff.
Yeah. It really is. So how are you, or how did you get to the point where, or are you even there yet? You know, you said when you no longer had this drug to kind of cover up the day-to-day feelings, past and present, you got off of that. You no longer had that as whatever you want to call it, a crutch, a cover, or whatever. How did you work yourself into the position that you're able to manage day to day?
So,
or maybe you didn't work yourself there. I mean, I don't want to put words behind it. It's just,
so I quit for a year. I did what I said.
mm-hmm.
I quit for a year. Never had a sip. I got done with that, and I was like, that wasn't even that big a deal. Maybe I don't have a problem.
Oh, okay.
And I slowly started drinking. And what's interesting about that, a couple things. One, it was so sick to me. My friends were so excited for me to drink again.
Yeah.
And I straight up called them out like, hey, you realize you're my friends, right? And I've had a problem, but yet you want me to go drink beer with you. What's wrong with you? And they were fired up, like trying to get me to drink again. And it's things like that. And this is coming on the time that I met you guys and started getting involved with this family. And you really start questioning, like, who are you surrounding yourself by?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I caved in and I was like, yeah, whatever. It's been a year. That wasn't actually that hard for me. And it wasn't. I just made up my mind. I did it. So I slowly started drinking. Where I was going with that is, what's interesting is I hated the taste. It tasted terrible after a year of not having it.
Uh-huh.
A beer, it didn't matter what it was. And I remember having this too when I would, because I couldn't drink on chemotherapy. It's terrible. And I pushed through it. And I got to where it didn't taste that bad.
Yeah.
And it only was about 2 weeks. And next thing you know, I find myself in my shop where I'm alone, doing my thing, tinkering on stuff solely because I can drink beer in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm ashamed for my wife to see it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it was. And luckily, I recognized that and I nipped it in the butt and I quit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. I mean, occasionally I'll have something, but honestly, I don't even like it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
It actually makes me feel worse. I've really grown. I love how I feel. I love being healthy. I love how I sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep is night and day.
Yeah.
And I just closed the door on it.
Dealing with the day-to-day emotional stuff. How is that going?
It's rough.
Yeah.
It's been tough.
What's your plan for that?
Well, thank God my wife is patient. She's my best friend. She is not a soft woman by any means. She calls me out. She holds me accountable.
By the way, I wish you would have brought her with you. It would have been interesting to hear her perspective on a lot of this stuff going through it.
Yeah.
From the outside. So
no, you're right.
Okay.
It would be. So like I said, thank God she's patient. She helps me a lot, work through these things. But that's what I'm finding out at 40 years old. I'm just not very good at dealing with my own crap.
Mm-hmm.
So it's trying to, 3 of 7 and what you guys have brought to my life has been a game changer. There's so many tools, and it's just like this weekend and spending time with Paul and all these things. I'm growing and God's moving in my life. It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do it with grace and giving myself grace. So I'm too hard on myself with a lot of this, but at the same time, it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication. There is no quick, easy fix. It doesn't exist. So it's just celebrating the small wins, I would say. The daily wins is what I'm shooting for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
It's a daggone Heck of a testimony right there, brother. I'm going to tell you right now, man. I think that this story that you just kind of walked us through, John, should encourage a lot of Christians out there that aren't in the place that they want to be in, that aren't in day-to-day life, aren't living the life that they want to be living, right? To know that you can, that Jesus is not going to leave you or forsake you in those moments, that he's still there. You can still cry out to him. Even if you're living in this place day after day and you're just too weak to work your way out of it, whatever the activity, whatever the action, whatever the thoughts are, that you can still cry. Don't be ashamed, man. Cry out to him.
That's it.
He's still there. He's not going to turn his back on you, man. And he's eventually going, he's patient. He's long suffering with you. And when you are in the place that you do have the strength to make the change that you want to make and you know you need to make, he's going to be standing there ready to receive you and your family on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And build you back up and walk you through that process.
Somewhere in Psalms it says, the psalmist writes that he is our hiding place. And to me, that's always just kind of stuck out because, like, you know, when you go to your hiding place, it's like somewhere you can just like take a wrap off. So when you're in those spots, you know, like what you dealt with for that whole 10 years, it's like, man, I can go in here and everything's okay. You know, I can just be comfortable and know that God's got me. And that's just like what you're saying, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, too, the flip side of that is that you that are healthy, living what you think is a good life and all this and that, know that you are not guaranteed the remainder of the day you're living in, that tomorrow, God forbid, tomorrow something that just like happened to John could happen to you, and the time is now for everything that you want to do, for anything you need to tell somebody, anybody you need to reach out to, anything you need to do. The time is today. Like, you have to do these things with a sense of urgency. You don't have, that doesn't mean be a rush in everything, but it means, what do we talk about? Being deliberate. It means be deliberate with everything you do, and don't just do something when you don't have a reason to be doing it, you know?
Yeah, that's it. Live with purpose.
What is your, I mean, from a practical or tangible standpoint now, what does your day-to-day look like as far as your family life, your personal life, you know, both body, soul, and spirit? I mean, what does that day-to-day look like for you now?
So I realize I'm not putting in the effort I need to in the Word. And one of my good friends, he explained it to me like this. He said, look, you can't go to battle with a 22. And he said, that's the purpose of the Word.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get into the Word and get yourself a 45
mm-hmm.
when you can protect yourself. And I read every day, but I read at the end of my day. I'm giving God the worst of me because I'm tired. It's been a long day. I'm training. So what I'm really trying to do is implement a little bit of Paul Wilder in my life and get up 21 minutes early and take that time to learn, to grow,
mm-hmm.
and just have that more ammunition behind what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just that. I'm trying to build a standard for my kids, my wife, the guys I work around, whether or not they agree with it or not. I'm just trying to uphold a standard that I've set for myself, and that's it. I mean,
you trying to put a few more bullets in your mag.
That's it.
First thing, look, John just brought us these mags. It takes my Glock 43X from a 10-round capacity to a 15-round capacity, right? Yeah, that's really what getting up. that and giving that part of your day initially to God, whether it's in prayer or whether it's in reading the word, or that's what it's doing. It's giving you more ammunition to get through that day, essentially, and it's honoring him with the best part of you, right? I like the way you put that, John. That's awesome, man. So you got to talk to me a little bit about your fitness journey, because I think that's obviously a huge part of your life now. You're training for an Ironman. You're super fit. And was this always a part of your life?
So this was kind of going back to Rich Roll's book.
Yeah.
Just that idea that you can be something at 40. And so I set a goal for myself. I've never done triathlons in my life. But I turned 40 this year, and I want to be able to say this is me at 40. Mm-hmm. And more just from I think part of it was it takes up a lot of my time. So it takes a lot of the that thought of drinking or making bad decisions. I don't have time for it. I work. I train. I try to still keep some time for my family, and that's it. That's all I got time for. Yeah. And so it's been good. It keeps me busy. The other thing is too, I've had a pattern of starting something and not finishing it. Not work. Work has never been an issue for me.
Yeah.
But anything that betters myself, I've always had guilt around that. And it's just never been a priority to me. And like coming out and doing the basic course, the proving ground, that's for me. This is the first time I've invested in me.
Yeah.
And my wife has always had a good balance of this. And I think even going back before, it probably bothered me, if I'm being real. But it's so true. If you're not investing in yourself, well, good luck trying to help someone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, that the whole training thing is just that. I set a goal. I want to finish it. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny. I've done an Olympic. I've got a 70.3 coming up. All the Ironmans, the 140s, they've all been messed up because of COVID, how they've rolled over.
Yep.
So I've been on a waiting list for like 6 months in Tempe. And I pretty much just accepted the fact that I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to do my own. It's not going to be a event, but I'm going to do the distances, right? And just yesterday I got an email. Spot opened up. So I signed up for it. Yeah. So I got it in November.
Wow.
And honestly, I'm terrified. But we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, man. Oh, it's gonna be a proper challenge, that's for sure.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
But dude, you're looking fit right now, and you're showing. I mean, the bike ride today is super strong. I didn't expect any less from you, anyways, because I've seen you operate at the basic course and the proving grounds, neither of which are walks in the park. That's for sure. So of course, I have 100% faith in you accomplishing that mission. And I can only imagine that the way you carry yourself now, as far as being a athlete, it's got to impact the guys that you're working around. And like, it's got to give you more credibility, when they see you as you are now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's such a huge part of it. I think, within the body of Christ, I think overall fitness and physique and just the way you carry yourself is something that's been completely just missed within, the church building, local bodies, of believers and stuff, but look, man, this is a big part. The way that you carry yourself, your fitness, the way that you look. I'm not saying you got to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but like, this is a big part of your credibility as a witness.
Yeah.
As somebody whose primary job it is to share the gospel of Jesus Christ the way you look has something to do with that in the eyes of an unbeliever, in the eyes of the world.
Well, it
matters.
We were at the airport, and this lady walks past us as we're, zigzagging in the little lines, and just a slob. And she has this shirt on that says, busy doing nothing. And Chad said, well, you didn't have to have that. He didn't tell her this. We're talking. He said, she didn't have to have that shirt on for us to know that, but that's just, you can look at people and tell they're driving life. Maybe not in the end, because, maybe that person had just lost 100 pounds and they're on their journey, but you can kind of tell how someone's carrying themselves if they're motivated or not in doing things. And so even beyond, even if you're not a Christian, it still says something about how driven you are about getting things done. Like, first you got to take care of yourself before you can go do anything else. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking like that, you ain't taking care of nothing,
And you look, man, you don't have an excuse in my book. Mm-mm. I heard Andy Frisella say one time, if you're 1,000 pounds, start with doing this.
Yeah.
Just start.
That's it.
You have no excuse, man.
Yep.
And I don't believe people like that. They're not in a good place. It's all front. Be real with yourself. You're not happy with yourself.
Yeah.
So to wear that shirt with some kind of pride to me is
yeah. Oh yeah, she was proud of it.
Who are you fooling? No, there's no way. There's no way you can be happy about yourself like that.
Yeah.
But
well, I'll tell you what, Big John. I got a lot out of that conversation, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having the courage to come and walk us through that, dude. That's a lot to talk. That's a lot to talk about in one sitting.
It's the first time I've ever done it.
Any one of those things would have been sufficient for an entire conversation.
Oh yeah.
And we just talked through 2, 3, 4, 5, essentially. Right?
Yeah.
It's just that's powerful, man.
Like I say,
I think we need to go for a run.
I don't know where it goes. And
well, no,
you probably don't remember my applications of basic course, but I told you God didn't save me just to be a lineman.
Yeah.
Right? That was my initial thought. But then going to what Blake says, maybe that's it. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe I'm just a light in this trade. And if I am, well, I'm good with that. Well, but I don't know. I just feel like there's more. I just think there's more. I just don't know what it is yet.
I agree. But the thing is, I don't think there's ever a culmination. I don't know that there's ever a time, no matter at what member you're serving as within the body of Christ. I say what member because it's not at what level, because everyone that's serving within the body, everyone's job is just as important as everyone's job.
Yeah.
So it's what member you're serving as. I don't think there's ever a place where it all culminates and you just say,
I've reached it.
This is what it's leading me to. This is what it was all leading me to.
Yeah, that helped me out a lot. Just when you guys were talking about the yoga and when Blake talked about that, you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. There's no standing still. And
that's right.
And I've never really thought of it, but that's it. And that's when it comes down to every day. Are you going to choose to move forward or are you going backwards?
That's it.
And that's it. And that really, really resonated with me. And it helped pull me out of some funk I had. So I appreciate that.
So why even think about where is this going? It's all right to have some awareness of what you or maybe anticipate your next move or have some awareness of what you should be doing in order to move forward, right? But to me, it could potentially be a waste of energy to think, where is this leading? Yes, of course there's more, because you have more life to live.
Yeah.
Lord willing, We all have more life. If we have more life to live, then yes, there is more. But I mean, I find myself thinking, I've had those same thoughts, John, of like, you know, where is this going? 307 Project. I've had people ask me all the time, like, what do you want? Ultimately, what do you want? I've had big entrepreneurs ask me that question. And I guess I'm not a businessman because I can't answer that question.
Yeah.
I've asked myself, where is this going? I don't know. I'm just going to sit down every day and do work like this. God has given me the opportunity to sit down and hear your testimony today. This is my work for today. Every day I'm just going to do the work that he gives me to the best of my ability. And where it goes, I have no freaking clue.
Well, and it's much less stressful to be that way. Like if you have this goal in mind and you're just constantly striving for that, you're probably missing the mark for what God has for you. And you're also wasting a lot of energy trying to get, you know, I mean, we've only been in business for 2.5 years, but God has grown and sustained what we're doing. And I mean, we might look a little bit ahead and say, hey, let's kind of start working on this. And if it hits a wall, we just change it. But when people ask, where do you see yourself in 5 years? For me, I can never answer that question. When someone says, where can you see your business in 5 years?
You know why? Because it is so much different when you're working within the confines of the body of Christ than when you're working in the confines of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason big entrepreneurs ask us, what do you want? Where will you be in 5 years? We talked about this earlier. Is because when you're working in the confines of the world and business, you have to be able to answer that question before you start anything, right? And this is what most entrepreneurs that I know, highly successful, they have the answer to this question. Where do I want to be in 5 years? Before they even launch the project, they say, well, I want to be at this point, whether it's the point that I can sell this and cash out, the point that I'm hitting these certain numbers. But when you're working within the confines of ministry, essentially, you can't answer that because it's not yours. It's a very different lane to be in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, man, that's some deep thought right there. I mean, deep for me anyways. I know you guys listen to this may be like, Chad, that ain't that freaking deep, but maybe y'all have already thought about all this stuff. But, you know, John posing that question of I don't know where it's all going makes me think about that in my own life.
Well, it's like, what are the currency you're working for? Or what is the return that we're getting for our investment is not centrally focused around money. Like, we got to make money to live and be able to do this. But really, we want to make a difference. So we want the result of our actions and work to be people's lives changed. And if you're in business to make money, then you want the result of your actions to be dollars in your bank account. And I think that's where the difference lies is, are you really working to change people's lives, or are you really working to make money? There's going to be both in both areas, but what's the overarching focus?
What's the primary initiative?
Yeah, like when we had to talk about the proving ground, and we said during the coronavirus that, well, you said it, we're going to do this even if we lose money. It doesn't matter because we care that much about making a difference in these people's lives. If we cannot make money on this event, we are still going to have it even if it costs us money. If we lose and we have to put our own money out of our bank account to make it happen, we're going to do it because we believe that much in the mission that it's going to change people's lives.
And if it only changes 5 people's lives because only 5 people show up, that's 5 people.
Yeah.
You can make it turn. John talked about the ripple effect so many times in this podcast and how he that's such a big part of his ministry.
Yep.
And it's like, dude, I 100%. If I get 5 people for a weekend And it cost me if it cost me $10,000, but I get to make an eternal impact in 5 lives. Holy smokes, that's huge, man.
Yep.
That's huge. And nothing we're doing can be sold for profit. Nothing John is doing can be sold for profit. We simply have to take what God puts before us every day. Thank God he gives us direction. Thank God he's got us in an environment where there are people that we can witness to and be light to. Thank God for that opportunity. Holy crap, man. Why would you ever want to sell that?
Yeah.
You spend your life doing that.
Yeah, there's no amount of money that you could never put a price on it.
You got something to say, John?
No, I just, that whole thought just brings me back to what we were talking about, that God hole that you have in your life that you can't fulfill with anything but Christ. You can pack it with whatever you want, but the only fulfillment you're going to get is through Christ. It's the only time that'll be fed.
Yeah. Agreed, brother. Blake, you got anything else?
No.
Big John, you got anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I just want to share, to both of you and the 3 of 7 family. I've made a lot of good connections here. You guys have truly impacted my life, and I'm just so thankful to be a part of it.
Praise Jesus, brother.
Yeah.
Well, likewise, we appreciate you, John. It's because of men like you that are willing to come and put in the hard work, the hard yards, willing and hungry, but then also generous enough to pay the fee to come and do the things that we do. That's the only way this exists. We have to have members of this body that are willing, hungry, and also able and generous enough to pour into this so that it can all happen. It's not me. It's nothing I did.
Yeah.
So, brother, we're thankful for you. We got a big mission coming up next month. I can't wait for that. It's going to be another awesome chapter of growth, I think, for all of us, for you guys as team members, and then for us as instructors going into a new and challenging environment. I'm fired up, man. I say we go for a run.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, I got some things to do today.
Blake's got a flat tire, huh?
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This is the 3 of 7 podcast. Enough said.